Welcome to the Rural Recharge, a podcast of the Florida Farm Bureau Federation. Rural Recharge is a guided conversation that allows you to cut through the noise and multitude of information out there. You should be able to trust your sources, which is why we're a platform that comes straight from the source, the farmers and ranchers growing what we eat, wear, and use every day. Our guest today is dairy farmer Kevin Lussier from Hawthorne, Florida. Kevin is a third-generation dairy farmer, and he and his wife Shelby joined the family farm after college in 2016. In 2020, they diversified into the artisan cheese business and formed Hawthorne Creek Creamery. Kevin served as the president of Class 9 of the Florida Farm Bureau Young Farmers and Ranchers Leadership Program, also known as YF&R, and went on to serve as the chair of the American Farm Bureau YF&R Leadership Program. Just last month, Kevin testified before the U.S. Senate Agricultural Committee's Subcommittee on Commodities, Risk Management, and Trade about the challenges young farmers and ranchers are facing and the need for Congress to get a farm bill passed. Kevin, appreciate your leadership, advocacy, initiative. I thank you for your friendship, and it is a blessing to have you here today.
Well, thank you, President Smith. Honored to be here.
Start us off a little bit, Kevin. Tell us about your farm story, how you came back and you're a part of a generational farm. It didn't just start here in Florida, did it?
No. So my grandfather bought the farm that I was raised on in the late 80s kind of as an investment. He was leasing it out, and my dad had just graduated college, was married to my mother. They had some trouble with the leaseholder of the land. My grandfather said to my dad, "Hey, you're just starting out. Why don't you go down there, flip the farm, and make some money off it?" And they moved down in 1991. They fell in love with the industry, fell in love with the area, and decided they were going to stay. So that's ultimately where I was born and raised, on that farm. My grandparents moved down and joined us, and I got to grow up probably the best way I think you can grow up is on a farm, driving tractors and chasing my granddaddy and daddy around the field.
Amen. All right. Well, tell us now, you talk about your granddaddy and daddy and how you ended up on the farm, but you ended up coming back to the farm after college. Tell us why you did that.
You know, I think just growing up that way and had so many fond memories of the farm. I loved being around the cows, loved every aspect of it. Knew from an early age that I wanted to milk cows. So kind of I had spent all my summers and weekends working for Dad, and I went up. Probably one of the best things that my father ever did for me, President Smith, was he told me he wouldn't hire me unless I had a college education. Yeah. So I had a chance to play college football in Jacksonville at Jacksonville University. Spent 4 years up there, met my wife, came back, knew I wanted to come back to the farm, and even after those 4 years, I still had the passion and desire to farm. Came back, and Dad gave me the opportunity once I had graduated. So, but just to have that college degree to fall back on is something I look back now and say, I'm really happy that I was able to accomplish that.
What was your degree in?
Business management, and with a minor in marketing.
How about that? Fits right in line, doesn't it?
That's right.
Amen.
That's right.
So you have a unique operation, dairy operation, especially for Florida, because you do have the Jersey breed as your predominant breed on your dairy. Why did you choose it for your particular operation?
It was an interesting day when we stopped milking Holsteins and moved on to Jerseys. I can tell you that.
Tell us a little. Some of our listening audience may not know a difference between a Holstein and a Jersey and why that's so important. I mean, most of them, there may be a need to explain that.
Absolutely. So we kind of had a unique opportunity come to us in the end of 2019. We had a couple that had a dairy farm 2.5 miles away from my parents' operation that had started the cheese plant in 2009, and we're looking for kind of a way to slow down. They approached my wife and I, and the first thing we told them was no. I said, I'm not a cheese maker. I don't know anything about cheese making. And but as we thought about it, and as we were trying to add another family member to our farm, we decided that diversification was really the route we were looking for. So in 2019, we jumped off the deep end and were able to do it in stages. So we bought all of their cattle, bought their cheese making equipment, bought some of the farm equipment, and then leased the facility. And we went into cheese making, and that's where really the Jerseys come into play. So with your Holstein, she's going to be a higher producer in milk, but she's not going to have the components that a Jersey will. So a Jersey cow's milk has a higher butterfat content and a higher protein content. And when you start talking about cheese making, butter, fat, and protein really play a big role in cheese yield. So that's why we made the swap to jerseys, and it's been an interesting road. They're full of personality, that's for sure. But I've gotten used to seeing the brown cows out there now.
So there's a difference in color. There's a difference in size. There's a difference in demeanor. To explain, what does a Holstein look like? I think a lot of people will actually recognize what a Holstein is above a jersey. You say their jerseys are brown. I know that, but a lot of our people may not.
That's right. Well, you just take a Holstein, your black and white cow. I tell the general consumer it's your Chick-fil-A cow, right? That's what people recognize them as, a big black and white frame. A jersey's going to be a little bit smaller framed animal. She's brown, big, beautiful brown eyes. When we have people out to our farm, they really love the jersey look and type and personality. But one of the unique things about jerseys that I didn't even think about when we started this was the heat tolerance. Oh, wow. Has been huge for our operation, and where we would start to see milk production drop in our Holsteins, our jerseys have stayed fairly flat.
Oh, wow. Yep. Wow. And the quality's higher.
Quality. Yeah. In terms of what we're using it for. Now, Holsteins make high quality milk, just as jerseys do, but we're looking for that butter fat and that protein. And that's what jerseys are known for.
So you explained just a little while ago, Kevin, that you transitioned because you were trying to add a little diversification to the operation. And you were attempting this couple had already started this cheese making. So it was kind of part of the deal. But why, can you give me a little bit more as to why you even ventured into that? That had to have been a total, I don't know. It'd have to be intimidating to me, not knowing anything about cheese making. Maybe you knew a lot about cheese making to even want to transition into that.
It was certainly a change in lifestyle, President Smith. And when I graduated from college in 2016, I was looking for a way to get started, and my parents had this operation, and I was blessed enough to be able to come back to that. But to add another family member to the farm is a challenge, and no matter what industry you're in.
Amen.
So we looked at it a couple different ways, and growth was one option. The average size dairy in the state of Florida is right about 1,400 head today. And we were looking, at the time, we were milking about 650. So we were going to have to grow significantly to add another family member to the farm. At the same time, we were probably in one of the worst downturns that the dairy industry had ever seen. And we were faced with those two options. And growth, the amount of capital it takes to be able to build a facility and add cows and really restructure the way my family's farm was set up was incredible. I mean, it surprised me at how much capital it was going to take. So when we were approached for this opportunity, we didn't know anything about cheese making, but one of the things that we had worked out with the current owner was that they would stay on for a year and help us learn how to make cheese. Yeah. And that's where, as a young farmer trying to get in, I had a lot of help, that's for sure. I was blessed with a generational farm, but we also had a lot of people that helped us along the way, and them staying on a year to teach us the art of making cheese was a huge benefit and something that really helped us get started.
All right, so you're in the cheese making business now. You've got the cattle, the breed to do it. You're engaged in it, and this cheese is produced. Where can people and can they buy your cheese?
Absolutely. So we primarily focus on our wholesale, which is mostly in restaurants in the South Florida, Orlando, Tampa area. And then we're also in 288 public stores throughout the state of Florida. Right here locally in Gainesville, we're in Ward Supermarket, Northwest Seafood, and Spurrier's Restaurant.
How about that? Do you have a particular cheese that is a specialty of Hawthorne Creek Creamery?
So probably our fan favorite, the one we sell the most of, is our Gouda variety. And I think people are familiar with Gouda. I think for us, because of that high butter fat, we get a really buttery profile to it that people seem to like. And then the second option is our tome. It's really unique. Those of you familiar with tome, or even if you're not, tome grows its own mold on the outside, kind of like a brie. And people get a lot of looks from it, and they really want to try it. So our chefs love it and melts down really well, and they incorporate it in a lot of different recipes.
What is Kevin Lussier's favorite cheese?
Probably our Havarti. I've eaten a ton of Havarti. It is, my wife had to look at me and go, okay, I think we need to slow down on the cheese a little bit there. But Havarti is probably my favorite. It's got a real creamy, buttery taste to it, and it's something that I certainly love.
How about that? All right, let's transition from the farm and the farming side, which you're extraordinarily passionate about, but also you're passionate about young farmer and ranchers. Absolutely. And you've gotten engaged with it very early on. Tell us a little bit about, number one, how you got involved with Farm Bureau and how you got involved with the YF&R program.
That's a great question. It's definitely something, the YF&R program has been a huge part of my career and something that I started out with as soon as I graduated from college. And it all starts at the county level. I had an opportunity to join our county YF&R program here in Alachua County, and just got involved. I said, hey, I'm willing to show up. I'm willing to help out in any way I can, and got the opportunity. And I think you'll find with Farm Bureau, if you're willing to show up and work, they'll put you to work. Just took every opportunity that I could that was presented to me. I really got to know my field staff, field rep really well, and figured out ways that I could help. One of the things we did early on at Alachua County was we started a food and agriculture festival at Cade Museum here in Gainesville. Okay. And it was basically set up as a farmer's market with the hopes of teaching people in Alachua County where their food came from. And that was a great event. The first one we had, there was 1,500 people that showed up, and we had a lot of fun doing it. But it also, I thought, really represented our county well in terms of letting the consumers know where their food was being produced. And that was something that was a lot of fun. And with that came more opportunity. And I had the opportunity to join our state YF&R program, our committee, and I got elected to that in 21. In my first year was elected to the chair. That serves 2 years on the board. And again, all of these opportunities have led to learning experiences, opportunities for me to develop as a leader, opportunities to develop my career. And if you're a young farmer that's out there and you're looking for ways to get involved, go to your county board or talk to your field service rep or make a call. You can call me if you want to, because I want more young farmers and ranchers to be involved in this program.
What did you mentioned that you've listed a plethora of benefits that have come to Kevin Lussier from it. You've also talked about how people can get involved. It's at the county level, but there are also state opportunities and even federal ones. We'll talk about that, or national ones. We'll talk about that in a moment. But there are other activities, and one of the biggest activities that happens with YF&R is the Young Farmer and Rancher Conference that happens annually. Tell us a little bit about that and how folks and what that is, how people can get involved and what it entails and what they could expect if they came.
That's a great question, President Smith. And really, looking at those conferences, that was one of the events that I went to that really created a passion for me and a desire to be involved. In 2018, I believe I was in Daytona Beach, and I got to hear a panel of the Young Farmers and Young YF&R State Committee. There was a panel that they had that was basically describing the opportunities that they were given for being a part of the state committee.
Sure.
And it was, to me, it was inspiring. It was something that I thought that there's definitely something I had a passion for and want to be involved in. And at those conferences, you get to meet so many young farmers and ranchers from across the state that are dealing with the same issues you are and trying to get started. And you make a pile of friends. And, there's a ton of leadership development opportunities, but also learning experiences, the breakout sessions that are involved there. I've learned a tremendous amount, and I've gotten to, I've actually, Fresh from Florida was a breakout that I've attended now twice. And it was something that I took that and placed it on our cheese. And it was one of the big selling points that we had with Publix was that Fresh from Florida. So, these conferences give you an opportunity to see what these programs are about. You can look into our competitive program awards, the Achievement in Ag Award, the Excellence Award, and discussion meet competition, and see the opportunities that are afforded to you as a young farmer and rancher.
If you don't mind, just a little bit, tell a little bit about each one of those. That might provoke some interest.
Absolutely. So the Achievement in Agriculture Award is an award that you can participate in if you're in full-time production, or at least 50% of your income is derived from production agriculture. And really gives you a chance to highlight what you've done in the industry and showcase the great things you're doing as a young farmer and rancher. The Excellence in Ag.
Did you win that one?
We did.
What did you win from that, Kevin?
My wife and I actually pulled up in the truck that we won from the 2021 Achievement in Ag Award.
A truck?
Yes, sir.
Oh, isn't that something, a truck?
Hey,
man. All right, so the Excellence. What's the Excellence?
Focusing on the Excellence is for the folks that their income is not derived from over 50% of their of production agriculture. And really, it again showcases all that you've done in agriculture, how you've been an allied partner, and the things you've done to be involved in the industry. And then finally, the discussion meet is held kind of like a board meeting, just like we're sitting here talking today. And it's a chance for competitors to sit down and tackle some of the issues that young farmers and ranchers and farmers and ranchers from across the country are dealing with. And all of those opportunities allow you to, greater diversify yourself as a leader, but also win some pretty cool awards. You mentioned the truck that my wife and I won. I know that for discussion meet and excellence on the state level, you have a chance of winning the Gator. And all three of those, if you win at the state level, you get a chance to compete at the national level.
And then you can win more trucks and more
right.
UTVs and that kind of stuff too. So there's definite incentive there. Kevin, tell me, what is the one thing, probably the most prominent thing that you had garnered from that experience that you would say was the greatest benefit to you?
Ooh, that's a great question, President Smith. And I think, while we went through the Achievement in Ag Award, one of the greatest things that we did was we looked at our operation from a 30,000 feet view. And it gave us a chance to go through our finances. We had an accountant look at our finances to make sure that we were looking at it the same way. And we got to see what direction we were headed in. And it really allowed me to almost take a strategic look at our business plan from a different angle. And I know of folks that have put in for that award 4 or 5 times, and even though they didn't win the award, they still saw huge benefit in it from being able to participate and seeing that operation from a different view.
Yeah, I know one of those people, that's for sure. Tell us, so that was at the state and local that you've had, but you've had the opportunity to go to the national level, to work with American Farm Bureau, and not just on the YF&R committee, but you are the YF&R committee chairman, and congratulations on that. That is a huge accomplishment and not lightly taken. That is very competitive, and I can say that I'm absolutely confident that they have chosen the right person to lead. And Kevin is if you don't know Kevin is an extremely respectable and honorable person and very much a leader. How did you come across, how did this opportunity present itself to you? And then you're a busy person. You've got an operation that's growing. You've got a family that's growing. And then all of a sudden this opportunity avails itself. You piled in on it to go. Why did you do it, and how did it present itself to you, and then why did you take it?
Well, first off, thank you for those kind words, President Smith. And, when I got started in this program, if you'd have told me that I'd be sitting here today as the AFBF committee chair with the opportunities that I've had, I would have probably not believed you. But like I said before, every time that you show up and you work, an opportunity is presented to you in this program. And from the state level, being chair and having a chance to sit on the board, I was offered an opportunity to put in an application for the national program. The national program is a 2-year program that one committee rolls off every year. So if you're a first year, your second year committee will roll off. You will become a second year, and you'll have a new first year committee come behind you. At the end of that first year, you have a chance to run for a couple of different positions, and that is chair, vice chair, and secretary. And as I was going through the program, I knew that I had a passion for it. I knew that it was something that I desired to do, but for me, it was really making sure that I was representing that committee at the highest level I could. I was lucky enough to have peers that saw me as somebody that they thought could lead that organization. And once you get, I would say at the state level and even at the national level, you see the talent of young farmers and ranchers from across this country. Mm-hmm. And there's no doubt in my mind that every person on my committee today on this national level could lead at a high level. Mm-hmm. A lot of it has to do with that time commitment and who can. I have a wife that I've been blessed with who is an incredibly hard worker and allows me to live my dreams. And then I have my parents who are still there that are able to watch my operation while I'm gone, that have afforded me the opportunity. But, the one thing I will say, and I want to make sure that our young farmers and ranchers hear this, is you can't lose your operation because you have a desire to volunteer. And I've seen that happen to some folks that want to be involved, and they have a passion for it, and they want to show young farmers and ranchers across the country and that you can do this, but it becomes a challenge because you're off the farm and you're away from your family, and you have to be organized, and you have to know that you have the support system at home to be able to do it. But if you can, the opportunities are endless, and I've seen that firsthand.
Well, you've got to do some traveling too. You've got to go some places, all kinds of different places. Tell us a little bit about the experience and where you've got to go, what you've got to see.
Yeah, so I think one of the coolest experiences about the National Committee is getting to travel around a bunch. And we've been in Salt Lake City. I've been to Washington several times, Omaha, Indiana, it's Wisconsin. It's just a tremendous amount of opportunity, and we try and get out on farms, and that's probably my favorite part is getting out and seeing some different farmland. I got to jump in a combine in Indiana. I was probably one of the only committee members that had never been on a combine, and they let me get on it, and I did not give up that position too easily. I think I was on there 35, 40 minutes with the farmer. So just seeing those things and broadening your horizons, understanding what other farmers are dealing with and what their operations entail has been incredible. I'm heading to Idaho next week, a place I've never been. So you do get to see a lot of different countryside. The National Committee, you have a summer meeting, a fall meeting, and then you're at annual convention and conference.
Right.
So there's 4 trips that you get to take that get to travel around the country a bit.
Well, one of the unique things that you've mentioned Washington. You got to go to Washington, D.C., a couple times, and but also more recently in June, you were able to go and testify before a Senate Ag subcommittee or committee itself. And tell us a little bit about that experience. How did it work its way into, and you tackled it, and what was the topic? What did y'all discuss? And were you nervous, or did they intimidate you, or were you prepared? Talk us through it.
I'd say nervous is probably a little bit of an understatement there, President Smith. That was an incredible opportunity, and something that that doesn't come around very often. Senator Sidney Hyde-Smith from Mississippi had put in a request for young farmers to come up and testify, basically talking about Title I programs in the Farm Bill, as well as the ability for young farmers to be able to obtain credit.
Absolutely.
And it was something that I obviously had a lot of experience with in my operation and my career. But also had a chance to represent American Farm Bureau from the National Committee side. There was also a Mississippi farmer with us from Farm Bureau, Christian Good, who did a fantastic job at representing the industry. And when they call these hearings, they give each side, the Democrats and Republicans, the chance to select witnesses. And then they get a topic, you create a testimony, your written testimony, and then you have an oral testimony while you're there in person. And once you've given that 5-minute testimony, then you open up the floor to questions, and basically can receive questions from any senator that's on the committee in the room. And it was an incredible experience to go up there and just talk about some of the challenges our young farmers and ranchers are seeing, and the importance of a farm bill. Mm-hmm. And I think we know that, but I think it's really important to let our legislative our congressmen and women and our senators to know that. Mm-hmm. The Title I programs and the risk management that comes with them, the farm safety net is a huge part of our operation.
Absolutely.
And then some of the challenges of obtaining credit. I've seen countless times again and again young farmers who have the willingness to farm to feed our country and can't do it because land prices are too high or inputs are too high or they can't obtain credit. And to me, that's a shame. We got people that want to farm and can't, and we're losing farmers left and right. And we need these people to be able to step up and start operations.
Did any of the senators give you any difficult questions?
I got lucky. They were looking more towards the ARC and PLC programs and row crop. So my buddy Christian Good got the majority of the questions. But I didn't have anything that I felt was too hard of a question. It really, just telling your story and explaining to them where you're coming from and why these programs are so important was the big part of it.
So you have a tremendous amount of exposure. You're around, especially on the committee, folks from all over the country. You have visited different places all around the country. You've been in D.C. around folks that have different perspectives, and been around a lot of AFBF staff that has certain opinions on matters that are happening in the countryside. From your perspective, as what is probably the biggest issue? You mentioned a couple, maybe they are the biggest, that young farmers and ranchers are facing today. Talked about credit. You've talked about other things. Is there anything else that you could add to it? Maybe the biggest of all.
I think barriers to entry are huge right now. You talk about land prices skyrocketing across the country. I had a friend of mine from Wisconsin tell me that if you were under 1,000 acres out there, it was really tough to make a living. So you think about 1,000-acre farm, you're $5-6 million in the hole before you've even bought equipment, before you've even put your first seed in the ground, let alone fertilizer costs, labor costs, all of these issues. And you take the 22 Ag Census, for example, and the Ag Census is put out by USDA. It's done every 5 years. So from 2017 to 2022, we looked at that census, and we've lost 140,000 farmers and 20 million acres of land in this country. And to me, that's shocking and something that I think our general consumers need to know. And when we have young farmers that are willing to get up every day and work hard and put their faith in God to provide for them,
Amen.
But to go out there and farm and live a lifestyle that's a tough lifestyle. There's no doubt about it, but we do it because we love it, and that's the way we were raised, and it's our heritage. But when we have farmers, young farmers especially, that are willing to do that but can't get in, that to me is the most striking thing, is something that I think we need to continue to push our legislation to understand, to create opportunities for our young farmers and ranchers.
If it's that difficult, and how do you encourage a young person to keep pressing forward to do that? And what's your message to a young person that just encouraging message to them today, how to get forward and move forward and become a farmer or stay in farming? Yeah.
I think the biggest thing today, President Smith, is you got to be creative as a young farmer. I had the third generation farm, but we had to go a different route, and we had some help to do it. I mean, I really, the one main thing that I want to focus on is a lot of this is just because Kevin Lussier has had these opportunities doesn't mean it was just Kevin Lussier.
That's right.
I've had a tremendous amount of help, and there's been a lot of people that have been out there, but I've heard President Duval talk about it on a couple different occasions, that there are farmers that are in their 50s, 60s, 70 years old that don't have any children coming behind them. And those are opportunities to work really hard behind them, learn from them, and get an opportunity to farm there. And you got to be, you don't have to be an expert, but you have to know a lot of different areas of a business. So any chance you can learn of finances, how to run a business, how to put financial statements together. I know that's critically important when you're talking about getting lending. But in terms of encouragement, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity out there. We just have to do it a little bit different than our parents did it. And, I look at diversification as a huge part of our business. And I know as young farmers out there, there's a lot of young farmers that are doing the same thing we're doing. It's my father was able to make a living just off the milk check. For us, we can't do that, but we can make it off a milk check, a cheese check, selling hay, raising cattle. Beef cattle, there's other opportunities to be able to do that. You just got to be creative. But one of the reasons, and I said this when I spoke with our South Carolina young farmers and ranchers, was one of the main reasons I got involved was because I was tired of hearing that farms were dying.
That's right.
That this industry is going away, that there's nothing left. And I can tell you, after spending the 2 years up in Washington with AFBF and touring the country and speaking to young farmers and ranchers, agriculture is alive and well.
That's right.
And there's a lot of folks out there that are doing great things, amazing things. And that may not be the narrative in the media. That may not be what everybody's focused on, but it's happening. And we've got a bright, bright future ahead of us. We just have to use our voice and tell our story.
I think that there's two things that Kevin, that you just said that I think are encouraging. Number one, you have networked all over. And once you did, you have derived a tremendous amount of encouragement from a network, whether it's family or an extended family and Farm Bureau and around the country, that you've been able to be able to have an experience with, that offer assistance, encouragement, direction, counsel, etc. The second thing is that what you have seen is encouraging to me myself, that you have witnessed that there are other folks like you that are doing things, and they're not the way they were maybe traditionally done, generationally done, but there have been changes. And it's all right to change. It's all right to vertically integrate. It's all right to take and be able to move a little bit differently, but it is happening and it is encouraging. And I appreciate you sharing that because, a lot of people do. They get a misconception, a misrepresentation of what's actually happening in agriculture. And what a blessing it is to know that it is alive and well. And it's not just here in Alachua County, Florida, at Hawthorne with Kevin Lussier, but it's happening around the nation.
That's right. And that's why it's so important to get off the farm, get out and join programs like Young Farmers and Ranchers, because that community and having those conversations, I can't tell you, President Smith, how many times I've walked away from a meeting where I spoke to another dairy farmer and just got to know their operation, asked them how they're doing things, and gone, man, I can take that back and put that into my
Absolutely.
operation. As soon as I get home, I'm texting them, hey, how did you do this? How'd you do that? Those opportunities are endless. And that network and understanding that you're not alone. Every young farmer and rancher is dealing with a lot of the same issues. And you can rely on others in this community to help you get through it.
I tell you, not just a lot of young farmers and ranchers. There are a lot of old farmers and ranchers dealing with the same thing too. So, and it's a matter of sometimes just perception and perspective on how things look. All right, Kevin, if you could share one thing to our listeners, what would it be?
Put yourself in uncomfortable situations.
That is really encouraging.
When I first started in this program, if you'd have put me in front of this microphone, I might have fallen over.
That's right.
Because I was willing to take a step and say, I'll do this. I'm not going to be the best at it. I need some help. But because I was willing to do that, I have had opportunities that have led to other opportunities. And now I can sit in front of the Senate Ag Committee and speak clearly and effectively. That's not because of things I did. That's because of people like Michelle Kurtz and other Farm Bureau staff that have helped me get past this fear and really refine my skills and talking and doing things like that. But just, take a step off the farm, use your voice, use your passion for this industry, and you never know what will come of it.
I'll say this, Kevin. I appreciate those words and encouraging words. And I can tell you, you are an outstanding speaker and you have matured into it. And I've actually had the opportunity to see that. Appreciate your service and your sacrifice to not only our state, but also to our national organization, American Farm Bureau as well. You're a real encouragement to me. You're encouragement to those that are around you. Thank you so much for all that you do. We wish you the very, very best. Thank you for coming on the podcast today. I know you've been a blessing to them, and we wish you the very, very best in the rest of your tenure at American Farm Bureau and your operation as well.
Thank you, President.
Thank you for supporting the Rural Recharge podcast. We hope that you're enjoying these conversations brought to you by farmers for our neighbors. While you're here, please consider giving us a rating or review. It really helps us to continue to share the story of our Florida farm families and their important impact on our local communities. Thank you.